The power went out in that apartment more nights than it stayed on. Marcus Webb was 17 years old, and he had learned to do everything by feel. Tie his shoes in the dark, find the edge of his mattress in the dark, study for his exams by the blue glow of a cracked phone screen, because the electric bill hadn't been paid in 3 months, and his mother worked 2 jobs just to keep food in the refrigerator that barely hummed anymore. People think darkness is just the absence of light. They're wrong. Darkness is the absence of witnesses. And that's exactly where Marcus built himself, where no one was watching. Every morning at 4:30 a.m., before the sun even considered rising, Marcus was already awake. He'd lace up a pair of shoes with soles worn thin as paper and run 6 miles through streets that still smelled like the night before. No coach, no teammates beside him, no crowd, just his own breath, ragged and determined, cutting through the cold. He wasn't running from anything. He was running towards something he couldn't even name yet. At school, Marcus was invisible. Not bullied, just unseen. The kind of invisible that happens when you're too poor to be popular and too quiet to be noticed. He sat in the back of every classroom. He ate lunch alone, usually a peanut butter sandwich folded into a paper towel because there wasn't money for the cafeteria line. The other students had things: phones that worked, rides to school, parents who showed up to games. Marcus had none of that. What he had was a single dream that lived quietly in his chest like a coal that refused to go out. He wanted to run. Not just run, compete. Fly past every person who had ever looked through him like he was made of glass. But dreams don't pay electric bills, and dreams don't stop landlords from taping eviction notices to doors. One night, his mother sat at the kitchen table with her head in her hands, a stack of bills spread out like a losing hand of cards. Marcus stood in the doorway, watching her shoulders shake, and something inside him hardened into steel. "I'm going to fix this," he told her. She looked up, exhausted, and gave him a smile that broke his heart a little. "You're 17, baby. You don't have to fix anything." But he did. He decided right there in that dim kitchen that he did. He started working after school at a mechanic shop 3 streets over, Old Man Reyes paying him under the table because Marcus was too young for the paperwork to make sense. Grease under his fingernails, grease in the creases of his knuckles that never quite washed out. He'd work until 7, run until dark swallowed the sky completely, then sit at the kitchen table finishing homework by flashlight when the power was out, which was often. His track coach, Mr. Daniels, noticed him purely by accident one afternoon when Marcus stayed after to run laps on an empty field, alone, because he'd missed the team bus after his shift at the shop ran long.
"How long you been doing this?"
Coach Daniels asked, watching Marcus complete his 8th lap without slowing down. "Every day," Marcus said, barely winded, "since I was 14. Nobody's ever seen you run like this." Marcus wiped sweat from his brow and looked the coach dead in the eye. Nobody's ever been watching. That single sentence stayed with Coach Daniels for years afterward because it captured something most people never understand. The real work, the work that actually changes a life, almost never happens in front of an audience. It happens in the dark, in the cold mornings, in the empty gyms, in the silence where no one claps, no one records, no one even knows your name yet. Junior year, Marcus finally got his shot. Regional championships. Nobody expected anything from the kid with the busted shoes and the shop grease hands. Whispers followed him to the starting line. Not cruel, just careless. The way people talk about someone they've already decided doesn't matter. That's the Webb kid, right? Didn't even make varsity last year. He's got no form. Watch him fade in the backstretch. Marcus heard every word. He let it settle into his stomach like fuel instead of poison. Gun cracked, and Marcus Webb, invisible, overlooked, underestimated Marcus Webb, exploded off the line like something unleashed after years of waiting. He didn't fade in the backstretch. He found himself there. All those 4:30 a.m. mornings running through darkness, all those silent miles when nobody was clapping, all those nights he chose discipline over sleep, it all collapsed into this one moment, this one race. And his body simply remembered how to win.
He crossed the finish line first. Not close, not lucky. First, by nearly 2 full seconds. The stadium went quiet for half a second. That strange, stunned silence before a crowd decides what it's watching. And then it erupted. Marcus didn't celebrate. He didn't pump his fists or scream into the sky. He simply stood there, chest heaving, and looked up at the gray afternoon clouds like he was having a conversation with something bigger than himself. I told you I'd fix it, he thought, picturing his mother's tired eyes at that kitchen table. Word spread fast after that. Reporters from the local paper wanted his story. College scouts started showing up to meets, clipboards in hand, eyes locked on the kid who came from nowhere. But Marcus never gave them the version they wanted, the feel-good underdog tale wrapped in a bow. When one reporter asked him, "What's your secret?" Marcus just shrugged. "There's no secret. I just didn't stop when nobody was watching." That was the truth of it. That was the entire truth, distilled into one sentence. While other kids slept in, Marcus ran. While other kids complained about what they didn't have, Marcus used what little he did have. His legs, his lungs, his stubborn, unbreakable will, and turned it into something the world eventually couldn't ignore. By senior year, Marcus held the state record in the 800-meter. Scholarship offers arrived one after another, thick envelopes stuffed with futures he never thought would be available to a kid who used to do his homework by candlelight. He chose a university with a strong track program and an even stronger academic scholarship, because Marcus never forgot that speed alone wouldn't build the life he wanted. Discipline would. The day he signed his letter of intent, his mother cried at that same kitchen table. Except this time, the tears meant something entirely different. The bills were still there, but for the first time, they didn't feel like a mountain. They felt like something temporary, something they were finally climbing over instead of drowning under. Years later, when Marcus stood on a podium at a national collegiate championship, a gold medal resting against his chest, a reporter asked him to reflect on his journey. "People love to talk about the finish line," Marcus said, his voice calm, steady. "But nobody asks about the dark. Nobody asks what it took to get up at 4:30 in the morning when the power was out and the fridge was empty. And nobody in the entire world believed a kid like me was going anywhere." He paused, looking directly into the camera, as if speaking not to the reporter, but to every single person who would one day watch this clip in a dark room of their own, in a moment of their own doubt. That's where it's built. Not in the spotlight, in the dark. While everyone else is sleeping, comfortable, quitting, that's when you decide who you're going to become. Nobody sees it. Nobody claps for it. But it's the only part that actually matters. Here's the truth most people never want to accept. Greatness is never born in comfort. It's forged in exactly the kind of darkness Marcus Webb lived in. The darkness of being overlooked, underestimated, unpaid, unseen. The darkness of running 6 miles before school with no one watching and no guarantee it would ever mean anything. Every person scrolling past this video right now is standing at their own starting line. Maybe your lights are on. maybe they're not. Maybe you've got people cheering for you, or maybe, like Marcus, you've got no one but yourself and a coal in your chest that refuses to go out.
It doesn't matter where you're starting. It only matters whether you're willing to move when nobody's watching. Because somewhere out there, right now, in a house with the power shut off, or a room with the lights out, or a life that looks like it's falling apart, there's a version of you deciding, quietly, without applause, without permission, without proof that it will ever work out, I'm going to fix this. And that decision, made alone, in the dark, when no one is around to witness it, that's where every single success story actually begins. Work in silence. Let the results make the noise. The boy in the dark became the man in the light. And so can you.